All right, so can God create a rock so heavy that not even he could lift it? The argument goes if he can create the rock, then he cannot lift it, and therefore he is not omnipotent. And then if he cannot create the rock, then there's something he cannot do, which again would mean he is not omnipotent. So it's framed as a paradox, but the answer is no. He cannot create a rock that he cannot lift, a rock that would be too heavy for him to lift. One of the most important things in critical thought is to define our terms. And so, what do we mean by omnipotent? Because omnipotent is the key word in this equation, or problem, or paradox. If by omnipotent we mean able to do anything, even able to defy logic, then it would be absurd to say God is omnipotent, meaning he can do anything even apart from logic. So God is all powerful. And running into these problems or paradoxes can be great because they can really lead someone into diving deeper into what is God, into figuring out these questions. Go to your Bibles and learn what God says about himself, about who he is. So the question, can God create a rock so heavy that even he could not lift it, boils down to it logically. The structure of the question, what it's getting at is, can God do something illogical? Can God contradict himself? Or no, he cannot. And that's not a weakness or a lack of power. From one angle, in order for a rock to exist, in order for that rock to exist, okay, take the rock, for example. Okay, a rock that cannot be lifted, logically, a rock that cannot be lifted. You can't have there can't be a rock that cannot be lifted and a being who can lift anything at the same time. Those two things, or those two objects, whatever you want to call it, cannot exist at the same time. That's a contradiction. If you have one, you can't have the other. In the Christian worldview is that God exists. So the rock in the Christian worldview is impossible. It's a logical impossibility. So that's one way to look at it. We're operating by logic here. Another angle to look at it from is, well, God doesn't God doesn't lift things like he's having to fight against gravity or some oppositional force. He's not physically lifting a rock where he has to push against gravity. He controls gravity. He controls the opposition. So gravity is pulling things down. He's causing it to do that. And so when if he were to lift a rock, he's the one controlling the gravity. So he's not fighting against a force. He's not subject to gravity. He works gravity. And so he simply moves things, is one way you can put it. So the question, can God create a rock so heavy that he could not even lift it? The answer is no. And it only means he's not omnipotent if we're defining omnipotent as something as silly as, can he do all things, including absurd things that don't make any logical sense? And of course, He can't do things illogically. He is logic.